Pleased to welcome back to the Daily Faceoff Show Pete Blackburn, who covers the NHL for Bally Sports. He is at the Stanley Cup Final. He is currently at Amalie Arena as the Colorado Avalanche are wrapping up their morning skate. You can hear the pucks behind him. This is the All 32 delivered by DoorDash. Pete, when you take a look at how these first two games have played out, you mentioned in one of our hits on Bally Sports that the Avs basically blew your pants off, and we had a good joke about that, a good laugh about that. But when you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, I was asking Mike this to start the show, if you are trying to make an adjustment in this series, is it as simple as trying to clog up the neutral zone? Obviously you don't have rockets to add to your skates. How do you find a way to compete against the Avs in this series?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? It's because, the biggest discrepancy that we've seen is the skating and the speed between these two teams. And you can't just go into the locker room after the game and be like, hey, skate faster, skate with these guys, because they're the best skating team in the league. We've known that. And we kind of said it last round. It was like, I don't think that the Rangers or the Lightning are going to have an easy time keeping up with the Avs. So for me, it does start in the neutral zone. I mean, it is sort of you got to close your gaps. You got to limit the space, and you've got to not give them a highway straight down the middle of the ice, especially in the middle of the ice, because that's they're getting their odd man rushes and they're skating basically unimpeded through the middle of the ice and finding those opportunities. So you have to be able to apply that pressure, and I think that the neutral zone is probably the most important area at this point.
Looking at these two teams, I think coming into the series, you've got really good special teams on both sides in the power play and the penalty kill. And I remember thinking, man, this might actually be kind of a wash. And I'm not sure, Pete, if either of these teams has really been able to gain a lot of momentum from it in the first two. But game two did seem to kind of start to shade towards Colorado on special teams. Do you think that's something that Tampa Bay might potentially be able to look at coming back to home ice as something that could be a catalyst for them to get their game going?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to find it in any way you possibly can. And it's hard for me to look at special teams as a big factor right now, just because there's been no shift from 5-on-5 to special teams at all, because it's just been Colorado basically wire to
Hmm.
wire, save for a couple of minutes in game one. It's just been so far through two games. This series has not escaped Colorado basically at all. Like, even when Tampa did come back in game one, it never felt like it was in question, at least in my mind. Colorado held all of the sustained pressure. It's essentially been one and done for every time. But like you said, you need to find a spark, and you can often do it on special teams. So if they can get the power play going and start finding the back of the net, especially early, because I do think early in game three is going to be really important. Because, like I said, zero momentum for Tampa at this point. So if you can get the home crowd behind you, get on the board early, and if you do that through special teams, go for it. But I don't think that they're going to win the possession battle at 5-on-5. They just kind of have to show something.
Show something. That is the game plan. Pete, you just had the heat map up there from your tweet from game two. And when you look at how spotty this is for Tampa, part of that, of course, as you mentioned, is the lack of puck possession that they've had. When you look at Tampa Bay though in their lineup, what has sort of been, aside from the lack of skating and a lot of the obvious deficits that we've mentioned, what's been the surprising part for you in terms of their inability to get anything going?
I would say probably like the Seravalli line and its ineffectiveness and having an impact on the game. Because I mean, the big thing that we've seen from Tampa in years past has been their ability to neutralize top talent. And you can argue that obviously Colorado's top stars and top tier talent has been held relatively quiet. They're getting contributions up and down the lineup, and I think that's a testament to how deep they are. But it's they're not really being neutralized either. Like, the Cirelli line is essentially getting run over, and we saw the lines being thrown into a blender in game two, which was absolutely necessary as John Cooper looked for any spark. I just think that I've been surprised that that line and that defensive ability of Tampa that we have seen be so crucial to them in long playoffs, both in the couple of years past, but also this year, has just not been effective at slowing down this team at all.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch to see how the Tampa Bay Lightning try and claw back in this and combat that Colorado Avalanche speed, which was just overwhelming in games 1 and 2 in Denver. We'll see if they can flip the script in game 3. Thanks so much to Pete Blackburn for joining us from Bally Sports. You can check out me and Pete every day on the road to Stanley on ballysports.com. This has been the All 32 delivered by DoorDash. You see the promo codes there at the bottom of your screen. DFODD if you're in Canada, DFODD US if you're in the United States. That gets you 25% off and free delivery on your first order with DoorDash. Game 3 going on tonight. You don't want to cook. All your favorites and more delivered right to your door by DoorDash. Thanks, Pete.